Hi, my name is Pastor Russell Mullenberg, and this is Eat This Word, a weekly program where I serve up bite-sized bits of Bible. So, I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. This is our fourth in our Christmas series. The bite-sized bit we're looking at is Isaiah 9, verse 6. We're going to wrap it up. I know Christmas is just past, but we're going to keep thinking about this child who was born. Isaiah 9:6, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given. And the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." This remarkable birth announcement written by Isaiah 700 years before Jesus is born to Mary in Bethlehem. And not only does Isaiah predict the coming of this child, but he gives names. We've been calling this verse the king with four names, these titles, like a heavyweight boxer reeling off his accomplishments. We get this list of things that are going to be true of this child well in advance. He's going to be a wonderful counselor. He's going to give the true counsel and guidance that we need. He's mighty God. He's the glory of God made flesh and blood in this child. He's the everlasting Father, limitless in his resources and filled with compassion for his children. And now today, the one that anchors it all, he's the Prince of Peace. He's the one who comes into our world of conflict to establish leadership and rule and bring true peace into our midst. The Hebrew here, Prince of Peace, is Shalom. And I mention it because shalom is one of those Hebrew words you may be familiar with. It's a greeting even today among modern Jewish people, a way of wishing blessing on someone. And it's most simply translated as peace, but it's so much deeper and more meaningful than mere absence of conflict. Shalom has to do with well-being. It has to do with really being in the midst of the best of what God has created us for. Shalom, I think of shalom, I go back to the very beginning of creation and the Garden of Eden and in a world without sin where things were exactly good, very good, as God had created them to be for the first man and woman. And really, our fundamental problem in the world is the absence of shalom, the enmity that was introduced when sin came into the world. So real briefly, we can talk about Genesis 3:15, where God is speaking to the serpent after he's tempted Eve to sin. And he says, "I will put enmity between you and the woman." And then this great predictive prophecy of the coming Messiah, between your offspring and hers, he will crush your head, you will strike or bruise his heel. There's one of the very first, just in the third chapter of the Bible already, we're looking forward to Jesus coming. But it's that word enmity that I want to talk about here is this absence of peace, this conflict between us and God, between us and each other, between us and nature, that absence of shalom. And so one of the missions of the Messiah coming into the world is to bring that shalom back, to bring that wholeness, to bring that peace. So, Isaiah 9:6, predictive prophecy of the coming child. But I mentioned the very first week that it's also a message for the moment. And if we look at the verses immediately around it, we can really see how the emphasis is on this coming peace. So I'll take you back to Isaiah 9, verse 2. It says, "The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, the light has dawned." At the time that Isaiah was writing, again, geopolitical intrigue, rumors of war and wars taking place. And Isaiah describes it as a time of great darkness. People are scared, they're frightened, they don't know which way to turn. And there's this promise now of light breaking into the darkness. This is leading up to the prophecy of the birth of the child. Verses 3 and 4. "You've enlarged the nation, you've increased their joy. They rejoice before you as people rejoice at the harvest, as warriors rejoice when dividing the plunder. For as in the day of Midian's defeat, you've shattered the yoke that burdens them, the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor." And so there's this prediction of a great victory, a reference back to the days of Gideon when the Midians were defeated by Gideon and his army of torch-bearing soldiers. And the idea is that a time of peace is coming. Verse 5, "Every warrior's boot used in battle, every garment rolled in blood will be destined for burning, will be fuel for the fire. This idea that the tools of war are going to become logs for the fire, fuel for burning, that other verses talking about how the sword will be turned into plowshares, the spears turned into pruning hooks, where the weaponry that we use in the midst of our conflict will no longer be necessary because peace will reign. We jump ahead to verse 7. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. This is the prince part. This child is going to sit on the throne of David. He's going to be a righteous ruler. And again, there will be greatness in his kingdom. There will be peace. There will be justice and righteousness. The prediction is one coming who will eliminate conflict, eliminate enmity, and usher in God's shalom as things were meant to be. So we go back to our verse, our key verse, and that title, the Prince of Peace, this title that Jesus will bear. He came into the world 2,000 years ago, born in a manger. He taught us what God was like and what God wants for us and from us. And then he went to the cross to achieve it, to break down, to crush the head of that serpent. He died on the cross to take down that enmity that divided us from God, as well as the enmity that exists between us and others and us and the world, so that shalom could be ushered in. And now today we wait for the return of this Prince of Peace, when he's going to come and all warfare will be brought to an end, where all conflict will cease and Jesus will be right. Every knee will bow, every tongue confess that Jesus truly is the Prince, the Lord, the true King. And everyone will bow before him. I hope you've had a wonderful Christmas, and I hope you can continue to worship the one who is our Prince of Peace. Once again, I just want to thank you for watching. This will be our last episode of 2021, and I want to thank everyone who has supported us by watching our videos, sharing them with others, those who have given financial gifts so that we continue to make videos like this. Please feel free to visit our website or our Patreon site to learn more about our ministry, and we'll see you in the new year.